Alien 3 opens with a shocking discovery, a facehugger egg aboard the Sulaco. After the brutal showdown on LV-426, Ripley, Newt, Hicks, and Bishop finally escaped the nightmare, drifting in cryosleep towards safety. The threat was over, or so it seemed. But that single impossible egg changes everything. How did it get there? The Sulaco had left the planet. The xenomorphs were destroyed. There was no time or opportunity, or was there? For decades, fans have debated this mystery. There's no official answer, and the movie Alien 3 leaves it open about how the egg appeared aboard the ship. It was just a devastating twist that kickstarted a whole new horror. In this video, we're diving deep into one of the Alien franchise's most haunting questions. We'll explore the most compelling theories, from behind-the-scenes decisions to in-universe possibilities, using clues from Aliens, Alien 3, and expanded lore across games, comics, and scripts. Let's unravel the mystery of the egg aboard the Sulaco together. But before we get into our explanation, we do have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Every plausible theory. Theory 1. It hitched a ride on the crew or supplies. The Sulaco was a warship designed to carry troops, firepower, and whatever came back with them. After the battle on LV-426, it became a lifeboat, place of rest, cryosleep, survival. But what if something else came aboard too? Think about it. Imagine aboard the Sulaco's cargo hold area, amid the low lights and dripping water, the camera glides slowly through the dim hold, stacked crates, scorched armor, bent tools, everything is silent, dead, but something feels wrong. What is it? A quick flashback to 1986's Aliens. The Queen stows away on the underside of the dropship as it evacuates Ripley and Newt from the exploding hive. Ripley races through the hive, Newt in her arms, acid blood sizzles on metal, xenomorphs scream in the dark. In the chaos, they grabbed what they could. Survivors, gear, weapons, whatever wasn't burning. Could something have slipped through? If we were to recreate the visuals aboard the Sulaco's supply bay, a metal crate marked biohazard sits sealed tight. A cracked helmet lies beside it. Inside, the faint glisten of slime. What was it? A closer look reveals a facehugger egg clinging to the underside of a crate, a spore tucked inside a torn medkit. Even the shredded remains of a contaminated drone are waiting, so something had slipped through. Perhaps the mystery egg. But how? A quick flash to Ripley in cryosleep. All is peaceful, calm even. Her breath is steady and the crew is unconscious. There's no one to check the hold. No one to notice the infection waiting in silence. The insides of the Fiorina 161, the escape pod interior, one notices flickering lights. The pod crashes. There's fire and smoke, and a cryotube is breached. Blood stains the floor, and by the time the escape pod launches, the contamination has already begun. A facehugger emerged, searching and hunting. Imagine the devastation like a montage, with the egg opening, the facehugger skittering and the dog whining. The alien wasn't sent, it wasn't planted, it came along for the ride, hidden in the shadows of survival. And inside the dark room, the egg photograph was circled in red. There was no sabotage or conspiracy, just a brutal truth. In the alien universe, nothing ever comes home clean. If we were to validate this theory, then it's believable that after the hive explodes and the Queen attacks, the team scrambles to escape with whatever gear and survivors they can manage. In all the panic, a facehugger egg or parasite could have been missed, clinging to a crate, container, or a piece of equipment. Additionally, this theory applies to the events of Aliens without requiring behind-the-scenes conspiracies or speculative alien biology. This theory is consistent with xenomorph traits, since xenomorphs are known for hiding, adapting, and surviving in the smallest crevices, including spores and eggs clinging to surfaces or tucked away. In earlier lore, especially from Alien and the expanded universe, facehugger eggs are sometimes described as sticky, even able to adhere to surfaces like barnacles. Alternatively, if we were going to argue against the above theory, we'd bring up the fact that facehugger eggs are about the size of a small duffel bag. Not something you can easily miss, especially in a military operation. Also, hiding one in cargo or gear would be visually obvious, unless you assume the crew didn't inspect anything post-mission. As per fan theories, nowhere in the narrative is there a hint of an egg or anything suspicious in the cargo as the crew returns to the Sulaco and enters cryosleep. Alien 3 jumps straight to the pod malfunction. Nothing sets up this kind of contamination. The idea that one just accidentally came along and then happened to hatch and infect Ripley, and possibly others, feels like a stretch. Speculatively, it feels more like a plot patch than an intentional twist, which may not sit well with fans looking for deeper meaning. Theory 1 offers a simple, grounded explanation. In the chaos of war, something dangerous was accidentally brought home. It doesn't require special alien abilities or studio intervention, just good old-fashioned human oversight. But while it's practical, it struggles with logistical believability. Eggs are large, facehuggers are aggressive, and there's no on-screen support for this theory. Still, if you're looking for a no conspiracy, no queen laying a surprise egg theory, this one's your best bet. Theory 2. The Alien Queen's Last Act. Remember this? A recreation of the incident would look like this. While aboard the Sulaco, inside the engine room, sparks fall in slow motion. The Queen's charred remains sink into the freezing void. Metal groans, acid blood streams in the cold. In Aliens, Ripley blew the Queen out of the airlock, and it was a final, brutal victory. Or so we thought, because if we were to go back in time in a quick flashback, imagine the Queen wasn't dead, but tore through the elevator shaft. She was smart, relentless, not just a monster, but a mother. What if the Queen's true final act wasn't rage, but legacy? If we drop into a flashback inside the Queen's chamber on LV-426, the Queen's massive ovipositor pulses. Eggs hiss open in rows. The xenomorph Queen lays eggs continuously. It's their instinct, their only purpose. And even when the ovipositor is lost, the drive to reproduce doesn't stop. But Ripley destroys the egg chamber. The Queen detaches from her egg sac and escapes the hive, pursues. But in those final moments, what if she laid just one last egg? A single egg that was hidden aboard the Sulaco's dropship, or passed to a loyal drone left behind in the ship's hold. Imagine the drone's claws carrying an egg-like object into a shadowed compartment. We can't rule this possibility out since xenomorphs operate with a shared intelligence, a hive mind. The Queen doesn't need to be present to command. She simply knows, and the drones obey. And where do they go with the egg? Quick flash forward to the interior of the Sulaco cargo bay in an unused corner, vents dripping with moisture, and something organic pulsing beneath a crate. What if the Queen, in her final moments, knew she was aboard a vessel, a way off world? What if it was even targeted? Flashback to the moment when the Queen crawls into the dropship bay. She doesn't just escape, she chooses the transport. She knows it leads to more prey, to new worlds, to survival. It was a mother's instinct, not for protection, but continuation. And by the time the Sulaco drifted into orbit near Fiorina 161, the egg had already served its purpose. A single facehugger, a silent passenger, ready to begin the cycle anew. A slow pan shows the alien embryo X-ray in Ripley's chest. The Queen's legacy wasn't rage, it wasn't revenge, it was rebirth. The above theory explains the sudden presence of the egg, i.e. if the Queen laid or planted an egg while hiding on the dropship, it could have easily gone unnoticed during the return to the Sulaco. In Aliens, the Queen doesn't act randomly. She follows Ripley, stows away, and attacks with clear intent. It's plausible that targeting the dropship was more than revenge. It could have been part of a reproductive strategy. This theory avoids any corporate sabotage or human interference. In fact, it maintains the central terror of the alien mythos. The creature survives on its own terms. However, no egg is ever seen in Aliens. At no point during or after the Queen's stowaway on the dropship is an egg shown, not even hinted at. This makes the theory feel speculative unless we assume the egg was hidden or laid off-screen. In Aliens, the Queen's ovipositor is destroyed when Ripley attacks the hive. It's never shown or implied that a Queen can lay eggs without that organ, making the idea scientifically questionable even within the lore. Also, the logistical timing. The timeline from the Queen's arrival on the Sulaco to the crew entering cryosleep is extremely short. It would be difficult for her to lay an egg, hide it, and then attack, all before being ejected from the airlock. It's one of the most compelling and cinematic theories, but also one of the hardest to prove without bending the rules of the established universe. Theory 3. Sabotage by Weyland-Yutani. They say, in space, no one can hear you scream, but in the boardrooms of Weyland-Yutani, they were listening carefully. Ever since the events of Alien, the company has been obsessed with one thing: recovering a xenomorph specimen. Not for study, not for protection, but for weaponization. When the Sulaco returned from LV-426 with survivors, Weyland-Yutani didn't see a rescue, they saw a missed opportunity. The hive was destroyed, the colony was wiped out, the Queen gone. But what if the company had a contingency, a plan to make sure something came back? This theory suggests that Weyland-Yutani secretly planted an egg aboard the Sulaco, not by accident, not through contamination, but by design. It wouldn't be the first time. Back in 1979's Alien, Science Officer Ash, a synthetic under secret orders, tried to bring the alien aboard the Nostromo. He called it a perfect organism. He wanted to protect it, even at the cost of the crew. History repeats itself in Aliens when Burke attempted to impregnate Ripley and Newt using facehuggers, while to smuggle embryos past quarantine. Weyland-Yutani's motives are well documented: profit through control. Biological weapons, genetic research, power. The xenomorph isn't a nightmare to them, it's an investment. So the theory goes like this: a company sleeper agent or remote override placed an egg aboard the Sulaco, hidden in cargo, shielded from detection. The crew, exhausted and in cryosleep, wouldn't have noticed. No alarms would have been triggered. Everything would appear normal until it wasn't. When the Sulaco reached deep space, the containment would fail intentionally. The escape pod would launch, the infection would spread, and Weyland-Yutani would be waiting. Where did the escape pod crash? The Arena 161, a remote penal colony with no weapons, no communications, and no oversight. A perfect place to let the alien evolve. Isolated, controlled, and disposable. Coincidence or part of the plan? The company has shown time and again that human life is expendable, and the xenomorph is the future. If planting an egg meant sacrificing the Sulaco, Ripley, and every convict on that prison planet, well, then so be it. Because in the eyes of Weyland-Yutani, the ends always justify the means. Theory 3 is a logically sound and thematically rich explanation that aligns with everything we know about Weyland-Yutani, their greed, manipulation, and complete disregard for human life. But without any explicit in-universe evidence, it hinges on assumptions and off-screen actions. It's a fan-favorite theory for those who prefer a more human evil over alien randomness, but one that still leaves a few unanswered questions. Theory 4. The egg was already aboard before the final battle. In space, no one can hear a whisper or a lie. The Sulaco drifts silently through the black, her engines cold, her hallways dim. Somewhere, deep within her labyrinthine belly, past the weapons lockers and cryotubes, behind bulkheads sealed by automation, something waits. A leathery pod, still and silent, breathing and waiting. This theory posits a chilling possibility. The xenomorph egg was already aboard the Sulaco long before the final battle with the Queen. It wasn't spawned as a last desperate act. It was smuggled in and hidden and planted like a ticking time bomb. Amid the chaos of LV-426, the collapsing colony, the scream of klaxons, the Queen's unholy shrieks, it would have been easy to miss. A single egg, tucked away among cargo crates, lodged beneath a landing gear, or stowed in one of the ship's sealed compartments. The Queen, calculating and vengeful, might have left it behind as a final grotesque contingency, knowing she might not survive, but her offspring would. Or worse, someone else brought it aboard. After the escape from LV-426, the Sulaco became a ghost ship, its surviving crew broken, exhausted, and bleeding. Hicks was gravely wounded, Bishop was in pieces, and Ripley was barely conscious. No one inspected the ship, no one could. But what if it wasn't just a human error? What if a company directive buried deep in the ship's AI protocols ensured that a specimen would make it back to Earth? Weyland-Yutani has always played the long game. A cargo drone here, a mislabeled manifest there, a sealed bay under quarantine and conveniently overlooked. The egg wouldn't need to be found, it only needed time, and time is what it had. This version of events adds a sick twist to the opening of Alien 3. The fire, the crash, and the deaths weren't just bad luck, they were inevitable. The company's grip extends even into cryosleep, even into dreams. This is the terrifying beauty of the Alien universe. It's not the monster you see that kills you, it's the one hiding in a report, in a shadow, and the silence between beeps on a console. By the time the facehugger emerges, the fate of the crew is already sealed. The ship, the crew, the mission, all expendable as long as the organism survives. This theory is best suited for viewers who enjoy exploring deeper conspiracy theories, corporate villainy, and hidden horror. It is, however, weakest for fans who prefer tight continuity and clear cause and effect within a story. While cinematically compelling and thematically rich, this theory is ultimately a patch on a plot hole rather than a clean narrative thread. However, it remains one of the more plausible and poetic ways to explain the infamous egg on the Sulaco, and is far more satisfying than simply calling it a mistake. Theory 5. A mystery beyond science. Alien intelligence. It wasn't luck, it wasn't sabotage, it was something else. Beneath the acid blood, beneath the exoskeletal terror and perfect killing design, there may be something more, something intelligent. Not just instinct, not just survival, but a kind of intelligence we don't understand. One that's ancient, collective, and possibly sentient. This theory suggests that the appearance of the xenomorph egg aboard the Sulaco in Alien 3 wasn't the result of sabotage, oversight, or infection. They planned it. In the Alien franchise, xenomorphs have often been shown operating with hive-like coordination. They can set ambushes, turn off power systems, and respond tactically to threats. In Aliens, they retreat when their numbers dwindle. In Alien Resurrection, they kill one of their own to escape a cage using its acidic blood. This level of strategic thinking, often attributed to ant-like hive instincts, raises a bigger question. Is there a central consciousness, a hive mind, that links all xenomorphs across time and space? Could they possess some form of non-linear perception, allowing them to anticipate events before they unfold? The presence of an egg on the Sulaco, with no clear explanation, witnesses, or biological opportunity for the Queen to lay it, has baffled fans for decades. And if we discard the idea of human sabotage or narrative error, only one conclusion remains. It wasn't a coincidence, it was intentional, but not by us. The egg was placed there not by a character we can name, but by a force we don't understand. perhaps the xenomorphs, in their eerie stillness and silence, operate on a level beyond us, reacting to threats with precognitive-like instinct, ensuring survival through unseen planning or foresight. This theory opens the door to something almost supernatural, or at least so far beyond human science that it might as well be. What if the xenomorphs don't just react to their environment? What if they shape it? What if the egg aboard the Sulaco was not a biological accident, but a kind of dimensional echo placed there by the hive's will to ensure the continuation of the species? Could the queen, or the hive consciousness, have sensed Ripley's escape and preemptively manifested or transplanted an egg? Or is the egg itself kind of a biological seed summoned instinctively to ensure reproduction in the event of extinction? The xenomorphs have always represented cosmic horror, creatures that aren't just dangerous but unknowable. In this theory, their intelligence isn't just cleverness or tactics, it's a form of life beyond science, like an interstellar organism acting with purpose we can't comprehend. If this is true, then the events aboard the Sulaco weren't just bad luck, they were the result of intelligence, cold, collective, and completely alien. And the most terrifying part? We may never understand it. This theory is probably best for fans of cosmic horror, ambiguity, and mythic storytelling who enjoy open-ended mystery. However, for fans who prefer grounded sci-fi with tangible cause and effect explanations, this theory doesn't really work. Theory 5 thrives on mystery, dread, and the unknowable. It doesn't answer questions, it raises better ones, keeping the alien saga steeped in terror of not just the creature, but of what it might become. For those looking for clear logic or resolution, it may feel too abstract to be satisfying, but boy, is it spooky. Marvelous verdict! All 5 theories make us ponder and urge us to question the very efficacy of the franchise. How could something that was so celebrated suddenly be immersed in so much debate? Not once in the narrative is there even a hint about this egg, so how did it come to be there? Didn't the writers know that this would cause debate, unless it was some sort of marketing gimmick to spawn debate and keep the franchise alive? Because these theories also generate new stories. Maybe it was a really clever move by the writers, or maybe it was just a lazy excuse for a sequel, but regardless, we want to know which theory you think is the true canon answer. Was it simply logistical oversight, a deliberate sabotage, or a darker force beyond human comprehension? We want to know your thoughts, so let us know in the comments section down below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Otherwise, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.